Shala, hey, Shala, Odin Indra, Shmanu Mengala, Anurana, Loya, Horus, Maiz, Freya, Shala, hey, Shala, Odin Indra, Shmanu Mengala, Anurana, Loya, Horus, Maiz, Freya, Shala, hey, Shala, Odin Indra, Shmanu Mengala, Anurana, Loya, Horus, Maiz, Freya, Shala, hey, Shala, Odin Indra, Shmanu Mengala, Anurana, Loya.
We went to the museum first. The museum's always kind of nice. I've taken a few photos here and there in the museum. Luxor Museum's got some really nice pieces. I love this piece just because it actually is. I wanted some good photos of this for the geopolymer people because it's like, you know how I sometimes will show like veins of other material. I'm like, this doesn't work with geopolymer. This is literally, they've carved this from a section of granite where it went from black to pink granite. Or to red granite. It's absolutely beautiful stone. But you can see how that's like, they found this really cool piece of stone.
Too much, man.
With the transition point, and they just made his head jet and his head on it. And you see this, how it works on the back here, where it's just, you know, that's basically a big vein of red granite running through this granodiorite. Very cool. Some nice Tefnuts, just cool Tefnut statues. They did have a very nice diorite, bowl here that's quite thin. And I do like the context under which these bowl, it's like they have this, you know, porphyry vase and diorite bowl, whatever. And of course, it's in the context of all of this. This always cracks me up. Like pottery, you know, really primitive handmade pottery, shocker, and very hard stone vases. This is just typical kind of thing. I'm trying to decide if I think this was like a pottery wheel or something they were showing here. Yeah, pottery wheel. I think here it's like he's pushing the pedal, and they're turning a wheel. I think that's what it was. They definitely developed that later in, you know, later periods. Relief of a new chariot workshop. Yeah, so they're making chariot wheels. So this is like New Kingdom, right? It's New Kingdom. So this is after they'd figured out the wheel. They got the pottery wheel, and they actually got chariot wheels. This is them doing stuff, making wheels, and they didn't have these wheels in the Old Kingdom. Seen on this relief fragment from a decorated tomb is set within a group of royal workshops. The architecture is indicated by register lines and by doors which are depicted frontally in typical Egyptian fashion. Craftsmen can be seen here making chariot wheels and statues of the king, among other objects. Cool. More alabaster canopic jars with actual lids. Akhenaten. This is now Luxor Temple. You can see the amount of repair work. I mean, there's a lot of this is repair work, but Yusuf's pointing out that these, you know, this is like, there's a difference between the statues here. It's a long story. Yusuf thinks that it's like, I don't agree with him on this. He thinks that these when you see crowns like this, where it's just the bowling pin hat, right? Just the bowling pin, without the typical, like, you know, the headdress, the thing that comes out to the sides, the Uraeus crown, and like the, you know, the typical kind of King Tut mask headdress, it comes out on the sides. He thinks that is. He thinks the older stuff is typically always just these pointy hat ones, and I don't agree, because some of the gigantic statues, like the one at the Ramesseum, also have that triangular kind of headdress, as do some of the ones at Luxor here, as does the one that Chris Dunn has studied, which I'm not really sure if Yusuf's across that research. But it's interesting. It's an interesting point. I do want to sort of talk to him some more about that at some point. Obviously, we can't get into everything while we're on tour with people because he's usually answering questions the whole time, and so am I. Yeah, it's been busted up. Well, it actually does mean something in terms of the orthodox sets of ages, but I do contend that some of these statues are older, both styles, and that they've inherited both of the styles from that period. I just love this picture, man. Like the two types of columns. You got the single piece granite column next to the the stacked rounds of sandstone. It's a great demonstration. Like this granite core of Luxor here. You saw, if you guys have seen the Luxor video, you know what I'm talking about. And then we went here in the evening. I'm gonna probably the next trip or two we're gonna go in the daytime because the problem with the evening is that everybody goes to it in the evening and it's just full of people. And while it's cool, I just think it'd be better to go without that many people. Yeah, thanks guys. Ancient Sanctum, what's up? Christians, goddamn, turning these things into Christian chapels, churches. I mean, you can see the laser mark on there too. You can see the all of the Christian art, how they plastered over the top of the hieroglyphs and then painted on it. They just plastered over it and painted like they're Coptic Christian all over it. And then you have these very, very much Constantinople style or Ptolemaic era columns. These ones here. In fact, I think I took some pictures of them. You see how wavy they are. Yeah, it's like they're very irregular. And notice that you run your hand over them, they're not smooth or anything. Just good example. Like all made by pounding. You can literally see how it's done. But this is what happened in the Ptolemaic era, and they were making these out of granite. They're small relative to the big ones and very imprecise. Quick build a church on it. Well, yeah, they do that everywhere, and they're still doing it. I mean, there's literally a mosque on the side.
What's up, Christian? Merry Christmas, man.
Merry
Christmas Eve
Luxor
to you,
town.
my dude. How are you? Thanks for being here.
This is out.
I got a shot of you and
This is out, like, so this is they've fully restored this. It's something
Thank
like
you. Posted
3
in the
kilometers plus. The avenue of sphinxes between the two sides.
Oh, we're getting out. This is not vain. This is not vanity. I'm just repacking some stuff. We found the profile picture shades we're gonna wear them. We're gonna put them on. We're gonna do it. What's up, Christian? Merry Christmas, bro. Fist bump. The blue lens. It's nice. It's nice. It's my mom's and girlfriend's business. Posh.
Yep. Our little group. Well, some of them. This isn't our group. These people were in our group. But it's a cool
Very
experience
nice.
going at night. It's nice to do it at least once.
I'm just packing.
Valley of the Kings. Oh, I do want to see this, actually. We're going to skip right to it even. Oh, well, look at these. So we went into some Valley of the Kings. This is probably the burials of Ramses 5 and 6. Just some really weird... They were drawn on the walls. I don't really know what to make of this. That's interesting. The winged serpent with feet. Triple-headed. Okay. I mean, the artwork in here is amazing. Like the Temple of Seti, the actual tomb of Seti the First and everything. Totally worth seeing again. But we go to the Valley of the Kings these days, and I'm pretty much like, yeah, look, we'll go into the first tomb. I go into the first tomb with everyone. We buy the extra ticket for, like, we go to Ramses 5 and 6 because it's a very cheap ticket, and it's a huge tomb. And we tell people, like, well, because Seti the First is like 1,000 Egyptian pounds. I mean, it's not too bad. It's like $30, right? And it's like I actually rate the tomb. I do rate the Seti the First tomb. And because Yusuf will tell people, like, it's basically it's not that much better than Ramses 5 and 6, which we give them a ticket for. But if people, and then it's like on your entry ticket, you can go see 3. So I'll have like 12 of the tombs open, random, like not always the same ones. So you get like 3 stamps, you know, they put holes in your ticket. You can see 3 tombs on the entry ticket. And then there's a couple others that are extra tickets, like Ramses 5'6" is an extra ticket. It's like 150 pounds. Tutankhamun is 300 or 400 or 500 pounds. It's quite an expensive ticket for what it is. And I generally tell people don't bother. Some people do want to see it just because it's famous, but it's the smallest tomb in there. Some of the artwork's okay, but it's this tiny little tomb. Versus like Ramses 5 and 6 is this giant tunnel that branches out and stuff. And then Seti the First is very impressive, and it's the most expensive one. But we go into like 5 and 6, Ramses 5 and 6 straight away. And then we're like, all right, you guys can get tickets, or you want to go see the other ones. We got some helpers that will take them to it. Take them to those places, and then you want Seti the First, go there, or just explore and go and see a few tombs. And I head straight to the cafeteria, sit down, get a coffee. I'm like, I'll see you guys here in 2 hours. Fantastic. Now, this is some of the stuff I wanted to look at that I was interested in this day, for obvious reasons. Because this is how they make the handmade alabaster, and it's essentially the same process that they were using in the old days, just with steel tools now.
What the fuck is this? Why don't they just use a fucking lathe? Like, they can't seriously be making this shitty fucking pots by hand. You know how inefficient that is? No, like, come on, guys. You can't be hammering this. Like, this can't be real. This must be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why don't you just put it on a fucking lathe and you make it nice and perfect? Like, this is just so dumb.
And you two can go there and
those are just fucking monkeys hammering at rocks, dude. Holy shit.
75.
The beginning, he looked at the rock and beside what it can be, like a base,
what a embarrassment.
sometimes bigger and sometimes smaller. This is, for example, the shape of the base, how it look like.
How can they all just be so clueless?
You can if you want, yeah. You don't have to go through that.
Yeah. They should just all pitch in and buy one lathe.
To see the actual thing that they used to hollow out. This thing here.
And just take turns on it.
So this is how they would do it. This is what
this is just too
depicted
much,
on the scene on the wall. Same thing.
The ancient Egyptians were not that dumb that they
steel.
hammered
They
it by hand.
stick
Like, that's so
with weights on
dumb.
it and flint tips. But this is essentially the same technique, just using steel tools now.
Sorry.
She just leans hard on it and just like cranks this thing. He just puts his shoulder on the top of it, just cranks away at it.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It's all like wedged in there with flint.
That is so dumb.
Yeah, that's funny. He's ready to go. Like, takes his shit. Yeah, almost indistinguishable, right? Same thing. So I just wanted to get that footage. I was just interested in that. And then, what are they looking at here? Then yeah, inside the old alabaster store. So I got given a gift of a couple of alabaster pieces while I was there. I am gonna buy like a handmade.
Oh shit! Sorry. I don't know where I fucked up.
Turning these sounding, you can literally see how it's done. But this is what happened in the Ptolemaic era, and they were making these out of granite. shows for tourists, which they're about to put on for us. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to see the show. I wanted to see the actual thing that they used to hollow out. This thing here. So this is how they would do it. This is what as is depicted on the scene on the wall. Same thing, but this is made from steel. They would use a bent stick with weights on it and flint tips, but this is essentially the same technique, just using steel tools now. She just leans hard on it and just like cranks this thing. He just puts his shoulder on top of it, just cranks away at it.
That's the shittiest fucking engineering I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, that's funny. He's ready to go. Like, takes his shit.
Like, okay, if you're like one person and you're just a dumb person,
yeah, almost indistinguishable.
it is what it is, right? You can only do so much. But I mean, if you're a group of men in the year 2023 and you're still doing this by hand, making these shitty fucking pots,
I was just interested in that. And
this
then,
can't be real life, man.
What are they looking at here? Then yeah, inside the old alabaster store. So I got given a gift of a couple of alabaster pieces while I was there. I am going to buy like a handmade alabaster thing, because most of these things are all machine made. Like most of these are all lathe made. There are the handmade ones as well, which obviously look different to the machine made ones. And I'm kind of interested in a handmade one just to see how. I mean, it depends how much they are, but I'd love to get one and then take it and measure it, you know, put it in the system. But yeah, we take people to these stores. It's cool. I mean, people buy it. They're like this, no smoking, yes vaping. Okay. This is inside like a real big one. Like beautiful piece. Look at this thing. Giant damn vase. But obviously all lathe turned. And then we went to Mr. Badawi's house for dinner. This is a family that they help us. Basically, the guys that we work with in Luxor and Upper Egypt, and they invite a couple of us around to their house for dinner one of these nights. And they grow this local. Like this is literally the whole street is all their family, and then they have farms, and all of this is grown locally. The ducks, it's like a duck, stuffed pigeons, the rice. You've got the beans and the other things, and this is like a potato bake. The grape leaves stuffed with rice. It's so good. The food is so good, and it's just the hospitality is really cool, and they just insist on bringing us around and feeding us. So very, very cool. But yes, I very much enjoy going around to Badawi's house when I'm in Luxor and getting fed like this every time. Right. We did look at Karnak. I felt like we looked at Karnak on the other day. We looked at the saw cuts because we found some extra saw cuts, and we got our footage of the because we looked at like the sun setting and stuff. We did that, yeah. Komombo, Edfu and Komombo, always cool. So there was some interesting stuff from what Graham had said on his. Let me see. I probably got it on my phone. So Graham had. There's apparently been a new translation of what's happened. I'll find it here at Edfu. So the thing at Edfu is the translation of the Thoth passage that talks about Atlantis. So yeah, that's at Edfu, and we cruise all day. In the afternoon, we go there in the morning, cruise all day on the ship, which is real nice. Then in the afternoon, we go to Komombo, Temple of Horus and Sobek. Just the cool crown. Just cool colours. I do like this thing. I always take pictures of this for some reason. It's like you got to squint at it. Like, my eyes are blurry? What the hell? It's just the effect. of these glyphs. It's very cool. So you always like think like your eyes are out of focus looking at it. It's trippy in person too. And the hawk as well. Lotus flowers. Elephant glyph. This is people. Some people think that no, they never had glyphs for elephants. What do we call that? I'm pretty sure that's not a boar. That's an elephant with the tusks and the trunk. They definitely knew what elephants were. Yeah, like I said, didn't take a lot of pictures outside of Tombs of the Nobles, Elephantine Island. I am a little bummed about the fact that there's a piece missing. I'll show you the piece that's missing. Let's find it. I feel like it's this one, Elephantine. Yeah, this one. This piece is missing. This piece that Russ is holding right here. This piece, not there anymore. I tried to find it, could not find it. And it's the, it's like the, you know, obviously the corner of the bullnose, you know, from one of the big boxes that was here. So,
Yo, what's up,
it is
King?
there no more. Russ didn't
Merry
take
Christmas,
it.
bro. Let me give
Pretty
you
sure
a
he couldn't
Christmas
get that out in his
flex.
bag.
What's up, bro? The
gone.
pre-workout flex. What's up, man?
Yeah, we turned it over. It's hard if you flip it over, you can't see this side of it. It doesn't. It looks a bit more innocuous, but yeah,
What's up, bro? Nice emo,
it's
man.
sad that it's gone. And it's not in the
I
museum.
appreciate
now
you
on the
being
site
here. I
either.
appreciate you.
We went and asked.
Merry Christmas.
Sometimes they pop those
Hope
things up
things are
in the
great,
open air
man.
museum, and at the museum.
Not
and
much,
we
that's
went and
cool.
asked, and they're like, nope, nobody knew about it. So yeah, this is Hall.
It's
You
good,
gotta
just
walk up
chilling.
these damn stairs
That's cool, man.
to get to the Tombs of the Nobles in Aswan. It was pretty cool. There's some cool stuff up here. And it's a nice view. Like, this is Aswan. Just Aswan's beautiful. This is an interesting piece that's in here. It's a repurposed block. And you can tell it's repurposed because the tops, I mean, obviously the glyphs have been hand carved, but the top surface, so much smoother than the side surface where it's been narrow, it's been like hollowed down here. So this was probably a block that went out to here, and now it's been like shortened, and they've carved this top surface on it. Real cool, but it's a nice way to look at like the differences in finishing of different surfaces. You can just touch the side here where it's been like shallowed, and then the end of here much rougher than the top surface, the finishing of the top and the sides and the back. Unfinished statue. You can tell how it was being shaped with chisels. This is inside some of the tombs. Some of them pretty cool. Some cool artwork and stuff. All rock cut tombs, Old Kingdom tombs. These aren't like New Kingdom or anything. They're all Old Kingdom. Yeah, little bits and pieces in this outdoor. So we were looking for it in here. Like, this is where they collect a bunch of it and put it out. So supposedly you can look at it. Actual sarcophagi. This is in the museum. Little handmade vases and stuff. This is a big bullnose on a piece. Very similar. You start to see this in a lot of places. Like, I wonder where they got that idea from. Again, you can see the reuse of older pieces as foundation layers beneath. Like, Elephantine Island's been like built on top of so many times. So yeah. Thanks for being here, man. Hope you do well. The quarry, the next day at Aswan was that they let us down into the harbour again. This is the second time we've been down here, so I was so happy to get back down here. I didn't have a lot of footage of this the first time, so I was like, yeah, let's go. And Yusuf have been cultivating the relationship there to like let us go down in here. You can see that I've actually cleaned up the walls a bit to let those dolphins show up a bit better here. You can just see this just monstrous block was yeeted out of here at some point. What is the smoking situation like in Egypt? Technically, it's illegal. You don't really want to travel with it, like on airplanes or anything, but it's, I mean... Well, I don't think they generally let people down here. You see Tito standing down there, keeping an eye out. But our group, and again, Yusuf knows I'm really interested in this area. And they've covered up some of the interesting stuff. They dumped a bunch of these wooden things on top of like the notches in the. I think I looked at them briefly there. So it's like you see they've covered. They put all over here. There's these notches that go in and out on the end here. That are really interesting. But they've covered it up with all this crap. That's what I was trying to look at. Like down, it's down here. In this line. So I don't know why they've done that. It is kind of irritating. But yeah, there's your pre-dynastic. Some people are like, they're flamingos. Like, whatever. Ostriches, flamingos, I don't care. It matches pre-dynastic artwork. And yeah, you can see the curvature of where the scoop marks were. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't understand what these are. Like, it's just like, as if they were carving grooves under it. Maybe this was part of the mechanism that they would use to get something. They had to put something under here to help get them out, or this is like the channels for the balls when they like the diorite balls. They would shove them under here, and then they'd cut it off or something. I mean, this is all bedrock at one point, so it seems like a lot of a weird shape to be carving beneath the piece, and maybe there must be some mechanical reason for doing that, and I don't know what it is though.
In my opinion, is it the same color of the ostriches, or one came after or one came before?
Man, this grid work on here is kind of interesting.
So much alike, like the same color.
It's flamingos. Yeah, whatever. Whatever it is, it matches whatever it is. It's either flamingos or ostriches on the pre-dynastic artwork. Same stuff. That's the point. People get all worked up about, you called it ostriches. I don't care. I don't care what it is. I care that it matches pre-dynastic artwork. You know? Yeah, here's more of those like notching things in the ground. It's very strange. It says on the other side where they've yeeted this block out.
Seems like some of those red lines match the scoop marks along the way.
Yeah, almost, right? It does kind of look like that. Let's have a look.
I thought they were just staining from being exposed, but now that you point out
The ridges.
the grid, it seems like those seem to follow the channel.
Great Emu Wars.
Yeah, you'll see. We'll definitely get better indications of scoop marks. We see these other depictions here. You got the dolphins over there.
Yeah. We got an obelisk looking thing.
Yeah, this is like a fractured part that's come off. But
Depiction of an obelisk.
yeah. Oh yeah, there is an obelisk there. Holy shit.
Look at that.
This is all like they've cleaned it up or something.
That is cool. There is an obelisk then. Look at that. It looks like an obelisk.
It's telling me my device is too hot.
Huh. Another one here. You can see it. That's really interesting. Yeah. Two of them. One, two. Very interesting. Scoopy scoops. Holes in the ground. What else did I take pictures of here?
If you look at this one here,
Actually, we want to do it here.
if you look at this one here, we're going to standing. Imagine how can you be down there with a pounder and where is the space that you're gonna swing your stone hammer down? Could be also the pressure of the water because or sometimes it's
Above the unfinished obelisk. They still don't let us walk on it, man. I only got to walk on it once or twice. I keep like wanting to. I'm gonna have to make a fuss about that the next time. I go, listen. I need to get on it and walk on it again. And we need to let people do that. It's not gonna hurt anything. You used to be able to. I just get cranky about it now. Just scoops everywhere. And you can see the unfinished obelisk here. Like it runs down here, you're on the ridge above it, and it just runs all the way up to there. You can see the quarry over here. Like this is the down here is the harbour area where we were earlier. It's like down in here. So here's the unfinished obelisk here, and then this is like a similar block size that came out of here. I'm convinced of it. And then there was probably another wall in here. There might have even been a couple of these yanked out of here because you've got all this mountaintop here that was probably, up to where I'm standing was probably all granite, Like this whole area has been removed over time. And this is just where one big piece was pulled out. There might have been other pieces this size actually pulled out of here and here. Like we don't know. Could be just some gigantic pieces yanked out of here because you can see the height of it over here, and then this height to the left is also quite high. This whole thing's been dug out. Yeah. And it's all been quarried on top too. All of this stuff's been quarried down from up top. But then this whole big area in the center's been quarried out. And then you've got all this over to here and up to where I am. This whole thing's gone. Some titans under there still, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this whole area's been excavated. This is looking at the scoop marks in the harbour area. All the depounding stones. This is this is my view from the Temple of Isis on Philae Island, where I spend my time. I pretty much beeline straight for the cafeteria at this place as well. And then what's that? What's that? Oh yeah, we're cruising around in the lower lake, and you can see there's like hieroglyphs on some of the granite around the place. So this area was flooded because of the low dam that the British put in the 1914 thereabouts, I think, early 20th century, and then they had to move Philae Island and a few other things, but it created like this whole area, flooded this whole area. There's a bunch of stuff that went under because of it. We went to Memphis, went into the Great Sphinx enclosure again. This was very cool. And then we did the Great Pyramid. I got some nice shots of the Great Pyramid. I'll show you something that I thought was kind of interesting though. Inside the Great Pyramid, I thought that we found some tool marks in there. I thought I might have found some tool marks that I hadn't seen before. So it's in this corner. See, there's like these lines, the striations in the corner here. So this is in the alcove in between the portcullis area, they call it. Here it is, yeah. this corner here. See, it's all been knocked off and knocked down. Yeah. I feel like in this corner there's definitely like saw marks. This is where that big nub is in that portcullis area too. See here, it's like
Yeah. That's interesting. I never even noticed that. That's a good find right there in that corner.
goes around the corner. And yeah, you can also tone it here.
Find right there in that corner. You stand here. Come in. Stand up in here for 1 second. Just stand in here. Did he say no? Don't do that. No. It just resonates really loud in here. I'm only going to do it for a second. Yeah. Yeah, let's not do that. I'm just looking.
It's him whistling at me.
Well, yeah, give it a minute once we get it.
They don't like you resonate. We had a guy in there who was like really getting pissy about us doing that, and then I just did it a couple of times. And like, stop it! Like, why? What's the problem? And tone, like, just like making a noise. So yeah, no, I kind of got some alone time in the Grand Gallery. It was really nice. Pretty rare. And then I think I took a little footage from in here. So yeah, that's the entrance to the relieving chambers, so-called relieving chambers. That's right up there. You got to get up there somehow. Let's see. How much are Logitech G29s these days? $200. Lowest price in 30 days right now. Where'd I get my pyramid light? I bought it. It's like a mountain biking headlamp. It's a cat eye. It's like if you just find any like mountain biking, like helmet mounted headlamp, it should be super. Like it's like a car headlight. It's perfect. I'm sure there's LED options now that are just as bright, but this thing's pretty bright. So down to the bottom of the Grand Gallery. You know, I was a bit lazy on this trip. I didn't go down to the subterranean chamber. I didn't go to the Queen's Chamber either. I just hung out in the King's Chamber with Yusuf. And we do the little things that we do for people in the King's Chamber that he's got arrangements with dudes to do. Thunderstorm generator. I guess you could always, if you really want to get into it and spend that sort of money, you could always like sell if you bought a G29, you could sell it and upgrade. But if you spent $500 on something you decided you didn't like racing. Full combo's about 500. The Moser DD5, yeah. So this is going down the ascending passageway that goes up into the Grand Gallery, and then you can see it intersects with the descending passageway. With there's the 3 granite plug blocks right at the end. He's staring right at him here, and then this is where the Mamoon's hole connected right to the intersection between these, and then they tunneled around it, which is quite a miracle that they found this spot, you know. They had the 9 or 16. Yeah, so this is the tunnel around to get into the descending passageway that goes down right behind us. Yeah, I know. You talking about my talking now or my stomping and breathing while I'm in the pyramid? Yes, stomping feet. It's just part of it.
Oh, come on. This is Mudir Kabir.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you always want the 3-pedal setup. Clutch is useful. I mean, I like the clutch just for starts. I use the clutch for starts and for recoveries. If I need to spin around real hard, if you need to spin the wheels and turn around quickly. I do clutch the starts.
Hey, boss. Elias.
So yeah, we did this from like 9 till 11 p.m. So we're up there late. Late. So, all good though. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, chat. We hit 2 hours.
Pardon me.
I hope you all enjoyed that video. I'm trying to make these things a bit more of a regular upload to my second channel here, the Uncharted X Live channel. So please do consider subscribing to this channel. That really helps me out. Big thanks to Dub Selector for taking the time to edit these videos. Very much appreciate his help on this. Isn't that cool? Like, that's the join. Just love this section of it here where you can barely see it. It's kind of in the background in a lot of other shots, but this time I just wanted to capture specifically this this tube drill. It's this drilling effort that they made to, you know, knock down out here and where they hit granite. Just to show you that's in line with the Sphinx. Like, there's definitely some construction, like, you know, 130 feet or whatever down below the surface here. And then you have the, you know, this is the granite casing stones that were on the Sphinx temple, and obviously you've got the cornice blocks here. So we're at the Sphinx temple, sort of walking into the Valley Temple. I think we saw this, right? There's Mo, there's Bishu, there's Pepper. Yes, Ra is staring at me, and 92-year-old Bob, who was on this tour, champion. So yeah, all these columns, what did Yusuf say? There's 16 in the Valley Temple, and 24 of them in the Mortuary Temple. So all of these big single-piece granite pillars, these square pillars. There's none of them left up at the Mortuary Temple, but there was 24 of them apparently, and there's 16 of them down here. So the Mortuary Temple is actually a bigger structure.
What's up? Well, it's the exact reverse of the vectoral summation of all terrestrial gravitational forces.
Wow. This is just this monumental granite, you know. Yeah, no. And obviously there was a second level here. You can see the limestone blocks still pile up really high. It's incredible erosion. So again, we looked at the erosion. We looked at this, the last stuff. big alabaster blocks halfway up here, showing people that stuff too.
It is so stressful lifting weights on Christmas. Like, there are so many things going through my mind right now. Like,
One thing you do
it's
notice here is you sort of. I try to point this out a little bit. There's
I was
actually
not
quite a bit of
focusing on the
symmetry
weights at all.
Left to
I was
right.
thinking
You
about
see
all the
these
stuff
here,
I have to
these
do
here.
for like
And
after I've
particularly on
done the
this
stream.
back
Like,
half.
this is not. That's
I
too
think I even
crazy. I
mentioned
gotta
it
go
in the other
slow.
video. I feel like I remember me saying something about it. I haven't watched any of this footage, but there is quite a bit of symmetry on the patterns of the walls. You see the alabaster blocks? You see this is granite down the bottom here, and then these are actually
Alright, let's try it again. Let's try it again.
huge alabaster blocks. And these go around the corner. They're probably staircases that went upstairs, but these doors have never been opened. Yusuf's never been in here. We don't know what's in here. This is on that ramp leading up to the Sphinx viewing platform. Yeah, I took people out here around to this one. Yeah, so you take them back around the corner, and you actually have these just these beautiful cornice blocks that are still stuck on the corner. So this is that. You see everyone's over here looking at it. I sort of showed everyone this. This is the group. Showed everyone this particular cornice block, which is really cool. And then you can just look at, like, see these all this block work over here. This is all 4th Dynasty as well.
Those sets are
Limestone, same limestone, just not eroded. Supposedly made at the same time as this stuff. I mean, it's just there's so much of this on this plateau where it's like, what? This is all the same people building this again? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is all 4th Dynasty limestone work too, right? Funny how it's not as eroded. Like, this isn't repair or modern. This is literally supposedly Kufre. Same as this. This is supposedly Kufre. All limestone, same elevation, same area. Just didn't suffer erosion. And you know, apparently they built in those really big blocks to stop it from falling down in earthquakes. But this stuff's still standing. Seems fine. So this is what happens on these tours too, so you guys know that are coming. This guy here with the red, the long sleeve shirt and the red lanyard around his neck is also named Bishu, and he's our guide. So Yusuf's not the guide. You have to have, by law and the way it works in Egypt, we have to have an Egyptologist kind of guy. And these guys are usually qualified Egyptologists. They know that you're going to get a different perspective out of us, but they will give you the mainstream perspective. And they'll tell you the pyramids are tombs and stuff, and they get on the bus and they blah, 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 talk on the bus quite a bit. And then they sort of give you and it's very good to know, like, the dynastic history and story on these sites. And then me and Yusuf get on the mic and say something completely different. And then most of the time it's Yusuf speaking. So these things are real deep. Actually, I think we drop a rock in here. Wind's in the way, though. So he didn't. Unfortunately, we don't see him dropping it, but it's like 2 or 3 seconds. Holy shit!
Wonder what they were trying to do.
Fucking people standing on.
Yeah, about that. 200 feet.
Yeah, really deep shafts. So you see these shafts are in here, like behind my head here with that red paint, and then this is the what's remnant of the mortuary temple, which is where that 450-ton stone is. This is also the tremendous amount of erosion. I think for people that were on the last stream, you would have seen the erosion that was on it. And then I love this, just this scale, like this giant wall of masonry behind it that is the middle pyramid. You know, this is all that massive structure encased in granite. And this is the causeway that was also fully encased, you know, in Tura limestone and everything else. It also had walls and a roof, and all that's gone now.
Both used to be encased with granite stone, as you can see.
So now he's talking about the erosion. So these guys are standing on the block that fell off this block, and it's upside down now. But you can see the erosion. Like, this block eroded, and the erosion actually caused this block to fall off it in front. And you actually can see a couple. He's standing on the granite stones here, the casing stones. But the limestone block kind of runs to here. And then this is granite casing stones. And this is the block that was on top of this one over here on the left. Yeah, erosion, and then other parts, you know, made from stone, the same type of stone from the same area, apparently, allegedly from the same time. Doesn't show any erosion. It's just one of those. I'm going to do a video about this. We talked a bit about it in the last stream.
One here. and both used to be encased with granite stone, as you can see the remaining ones. So they will start weathering when they are exposed. So after somebody comes and remove the granite stone block, okay? After they removed the granite stone casing, the block is exposed and started on eroding. And as you can see, the erosion went all the way deep here until they were no longer capable of supporting each other. So that's why this one fell. But it's not the only case. If you look at the entire temple, these stones are in that position because of the erosion. So these used to be perfectly cubic, perfectly flat surfaces. And also you can see behind it the reinforcement.
White scarves
that
are
the
just
Ministry of
very
Antiquities
useful.
built to prevent it from falling, which is this reinforcement here. It's built from smaller blocks and
I always
then
wear a scarf
coated
in Egypt.
with a layer of cement to make it look like the ancient stone. And the same case is over here.
Yeah,
All
tons of
these
this has been
parts
repaired. This is all
has
repair work in here.
reinforcement underneath.
It's
So
all
imagine
blocks and then
the
they
temple
mortar
is
over it, make it
surface.
look like
So
ancient
that's
limestone.
literally because
Good
of
stuff.
weather.
It's extreme weathering on the Great Pyramid and on this one. I actually think the Middle Pyramid could be the oldest one.
Between the two blocks. This is a reinforcement also by the Ministry of Antiquities. This part from
Was
here
that about $20?
until here. The erosion is
How cheap are hats and scarves? They're much less than
between the
5.
two blocks here of stone, which
Yeah,
shows, of course,
$3-4.
that this erosion
We give these scarves out. We generally give everyone some of these scarves.
Wind and sand.
I mean, anytime I want one, they just get one for me.
some of this
Well, you
also
can get
doesn't
these
look
like the black and white one, like the Palestinian ones, but they're just Arab scarves.
the horizontal weaker sediments that we have here. Just look at the ones on the side here.
So yeah, this is that channel block that goes into the ground, and then there's a calcite block. I like this angle I was taking of Yusuf standing there in front of this thing.
Probably next set. I'll do 3.
Let's just get some shots of it.
I'm not gonna risk forcing a 3
Quarrying.
rep
So
set
this
now.
is like
Probably
looking
with
in the
next
ground.
one.
You see these quarry marks, like the dash line of quarrying.
With no spotter, it doesn't make sense to max out.
This is, I was just
especially
telling
not
people,
on
like, this is
Christmas.
the angle to take, like the shot that you want. Like, get to the corner of it, and you can get these nice straight lines of the pyramid. That's the shot right there. Like that. This is all middle pyramid. You see the granite casing stones from the bottom 2 courses here. One of my favourite walks, this one actually, is the the southern side of the middle pyramid. This is the 3rd pyramid over here, but just this walk around here, around to the western side, like through this rubble of these incredible granite casing stones, and there's just so many of them that are again, it's worthy of a video on its own. But there's so many of them that are just spectacularly made, and these flat planes we can see the original angle. This one's actually still in position. This is probably where the original line of casing stones were. See, there's other people here from outside the group.
The sockle's on that one. There's no sockle here, it's that one. The sockle's on the Great Pyramid. Yeah.
But most of these people here are our group.
Yeah, right here.
So this one is still.
Can you normally go
Pretty
up,
much, yeah, it came out
up
to
to
here.
all of it like that? No, yeah, this is fine. If you start climbing the pyramid, they get worked up. And
Pretty
these
much,
ropes are
yeah.
these barriers are supposed to. I think the idea was to keep the camels out or something. And no one. They don't care about that either. Like there's no reason for them to be there. People just hop over them. They don't enforce anything.
Pyramid would go come to this place.
To this place, yeah. A lot of casing stone, and it would have been granite back to, well, you can see where the other limestone stones are.
So you can see the granite being inset in here. So probably this is as deep as it went, but it wasn't all granite. Like you could put some limestone in there too. And see how it's all been quarried. And this is just a beautiful flat piece of casing stone. Again, this one's been quarried here. Just looking up at the tour, and this is like see this is like modern reinforcement, and you can see so this is down towards the end of the southern side, You've got more casing stones still in place, kind of, and that they've been quarried around the edges, but they're more or less where they should be. And these are, look at all these, just all been hammered off. Some nice finished, like finished surfaces still here too. Yeah, them Nephilim.
Yeah.
When they weren't buggering the
you still
angels
have
or whatever
the
it was that
original
they were
finish
doing
on
in
some
their
of
spare
these. They
time.
again,
they knew
polished
what
like
they were
the
doing. That's right.
Valley Temple. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, look at that shit, hey? Look at all that granite. So then this is cool too. Like this, I've shown this before. I have a video about it, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers that are actually bedrock. You see how it goes all the way up to here, and then it just slowly is like you see the line of the bedrock down through here. So that's the original line of the hill that they've just molded into the side of the pyramid. It's so fucking cool. Like they cut down on this far side and they cut, and like they didn't cut this off, and this is all just bedrock. See that line of it real clear here. Goes all the way up to like even here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses in the corner, and then you can see the height of where they'd cut down. Yeah. It's just mad. But no, they made this up, you know, as they went along. It was easy. Wasn't planned at all. They just did it because they tried really hard, and they just pounded at it with rocks, made it work. So stupid, including the granite casing stones that were on it for the bottom 2 courses. See, it's just all bedrock, right down to where it folds down. I think I think a lot of this is bedrock, and then it goes back to blocks down there a bit. Yeah, you see it here. So this has pretty decent erosion too, and then over here it's not as eroded. Oh, strange. So this is the western side. Lots of this has come out. Like there's lots big like chunks of this that are missing. Like it actually dips in quite a lot. Limestone, it's sedimentary, so you do have different layers that are different hardnesses. So you might have some layers that are much more resistant to erosion than others. Don't really know. This is here's Bob, our 92-year-old.
Yeah, it's just
powering
rock cut
through.
chambers. I don't know what is in them. I think they've been locked. I've never seen them.
I've never really filmed along this side, so I just kind of wanted to film it.
Oh, the lines, yeah.
This was when I was sitting up on the wall here around the corner. This is where they were walking over to me to start yelling at me. This was actually the 3rd pyramid. So I hadn't been inside. They closed the middle pyramid, and now this is inside the 3rd pyramid. And I hadn't been in here since 2016. So yeah, this digs down into the bedrock. This is actually looking back. I think it's up. So let's and you know I hadn't filmed down in here and since 2016, and I've only got shitty footage from down here. So let's take a look. Yeah, that was looking back up. So now we're in.
You want a picture?
There's so many people in here. Dub selector.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Warm.
Thanks for the gifted sub, buddy.
Feel all that humid water on you right now.
It's just weird, right? You have this like a rounded thing. This is down in the bedrock beneath the third pyramid. It's a nice big box for the air conditioner. That
Yeah, this is down in the bedrock.
get a hot tub. That's where the viewers are at.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Probably, yeah.
And down in the
You can see the excavation for it here.
yeah.
I'm just spinning around like a top, aren't I? So there's a big granite room down here.
Hey,
very much
Carl.
like the Lahoon pyramid.
Good stuff.
There's Carl.
Well, let's go.
Nice. Kind of head height.
Hello. Yep.
Only photo. So these are the clowns that are usually. This was the guy, one of the guys, like the guy asking for money. But he wasn't asking for money. He was fine. And in fact, he didn't bother me once I started talking. He realized, like, oh, you're like a mudir, like manager. So this is, as you come down in, you walk down here, and then there's that other chamber, and you can go into that room we're in. And then this actually gives you a view onto the top or the roof of this. So they hollowed out this giant space. It's all in the bedrock beneath the pyramid. So they cut out this big space, and then they created like a granite room down there. Yeah, there's a giant false door shape. So they've plugged this shit up with modern repairs. I don't know what they were doing. So yeah, now this now looks down onto the roof of the granite structure, which is this dome-shaped granite structure. You see how rough these are all granite beams. You can see how rough they are. But this is the only other like circular ceiling chamber like this that's granite that I can think of is Lahoon Pyramid. And then yeah, you have another passage that goes down. So yeah, then so that was the guy, sir, photos only. And then this goes down. There's another passage that goes down that way to the right. And then this is all granite. So this is.
I was wrong. It's granite.
This is the central chamber with the arch ceiling. And there was a box in here. I think Howard Weiss took it out, and then it sunk in the Mediterranean on the ship. But very, very much like the Lahoon Pyramid granite room, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, and there was a big box in here. And you got another shaft up here, and then this is the outside, obviously, with the all the unfinished granite blocks. Why is the ceiling lighter up here or in here? I think they've just cleaned it. I honestly think this has probably had a lot more soot on it from earlier explorers and using soot and flame. But I think this has been closed for like 7 or 8 years. They closed it in like 2016, 2017, and it only opened this year. So 6, 7 years. And yeah, here's the edge of the smoothing. And I've taken plenty of footage of this stuff. I didn't really get a lot of footage of it. And then we went over to some of this is like reused blocks that were made to make some of these satellite pyramids. I think I have a video about it like this. Sort of, so see how it's like smoothed here. Like it's really weird. Like this has been worked, right? So this is smoothed on the edge here, but then the stuff below it's not. Like it's as if they just smoothed this bit, but they didn't finish smoothing all of this stuff. It's really strange. Yusuf we were talking about it quite a bit. It's like this is weird how it's either reused stuff from somewhere else, or it's just whatever reason they didn't finish it. There's a lot of not finished stuff around here. Even over here in this wall behind us, you see how there's still unfinished blocks there. Yeah, he's pointing to the same thing here. I don't know if I have a video of it. I do. This is good we're watching this. I really can't remember.
A salty glaze that comes when the moisture comes out of the stone and builds up a solid surface. Yeah. So these were finished, but this is unfinished. This surface is finished, was finished once, probably when these blocks were used in a previous structure. That we're looking now at how many times were these stones recycled? Since how long people were recycling from older structures?
It seems like they're pyramidal, like there's a pattern of them.
Yeah.
Tapering together, like
They do taper a bit this way too. Yeah, he's right. They do. There is a finished.
Right, Ben?
Yeah.
See, actually, you see that?
Yeah.
See, there's lumps. There's like actually nubs on them. Like, look at this one here. See this? Like these. He's right. These are finished. Like, so these were finished. They have these nubs on them. They're like finished surface, and then this has the smooth thing. He's like thinks they were either used as something else, but they all have this pretty consistent shape. You know, these saw cuts that are all over the place. So fucking Matt Simpson did a video about this and stuff. He's like, oh, we don't know how much of it is modern and not. I mean, fucking Petrie documented them. I think Petrie's run around with like a petrol-powered angle grinder and cutting basalt up. I mean, I've seen a few people like talk about, oh, we don't know if these are modern when they were working on this place. I'm like, Petrie documented most of the ones we see today in the 1800s.
And I keep following it. There is one over there actually that goes into the pit of the.
I don't know why people even point at these and go, oh, it could be modern. I mean, the fucking box in the King's Chamber has the same marks on it. Like, literally has the same marks on it. Someone was sawing on that thing in modern times, were they? I don't think so. I mean, it has a tube drill mark on the inside. It has on both sides. There's a tube drill marks on the inside of that King's Chamber box, and there's saw marks all over the outside. Like, it's exactly the same as the shit you see outside on the basalt. It's such a stupid argument to try and say, oh, this could be modern. Like, these fucking marks are everywhere on stuff that's been well documented in the 1800s and on artifacts that you know no one is really taking fucking angle grinders to. You know. That's interesting, man.
Remove it was the hammer and a chisel. That's exactly how it would look like. They slice it to little pieces and then that's what we do.
Okay. We got to the end of day one. It's only taken us nearly 2 hours.
The carbide powder or the diamond powder.
So we're at Saqqara now. I always like to take pictures of handmade boxes. This is a box at Saqqara. It's pretty clearly handmade from limestone. Looks a bit different to the other examples we see. Point made. Nice big chunk of alabaster, calcite crystals, a cigarette butt sticking out of the ground. I do have a bunch of footage of this thing and a video on it. Not a video, but I have video footage of it. But this is conglomerate quartzite with tons of flint in it that was shaped into a column. I mean, it's just literally like a nightmare fuel for stone carvers and stuff. I mean, just look at the flint in it. Yet they still were making stuff out of this. Like, this is just stupidity. Ask any stone carver about making something out of something like this, and they're just going to tell you to get out of here. And just chunks of flint all through it. It's crazy. But they made a giant column out of it.
8 on the Moses scale. 2 degrees less
8.
than that. So if you have a tool, this tool will be struggling between hard material, which is the quartzite, and the harder material, which is flint. Between 7 and 8 on the Moses. Really nightmare. If you're using, one of these.
Jackhammer?
Like a jackhammer to drill in concrete, and you hit a piece of flint, you usually will decide to change where to drill this hole because you hit a piece of flint in the concrete. So that's the same case.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, full of it. Conglomerate quartzite.
So
It's like compressed sandstone. Sandstone gets very hard and compressed, it turns into quartzite, which is very hard. It can be like granite on its own. And then you have flint all through it, which is just ridiculous. So actually see, this is on the side of the step pyramid. You can see where it was extended. So here's this is like the original corner of the step pyramid. And then it was actually expanded and made bigger. So they did make this up as they went along. They created like a larger, the step pyramid's rectangular. It doesn't have a square base. And I mean, I'm convinced this is dynastic. Like, I think this structure is dynastic. And you can see it in the construction methodology. Where are we here? What is this? This might be Serapeum, I think. Yeah, Serapeum. It was really funny. The power went out. So all the power went out in the Serapeum. It was pitch black in there. Like literally the power. This Cairo and Egypt's been dealing with these rolling blackouts, so they don't have enough power. Typically, the tourist places aren't too badly affected, but in this case, it went out at Saqqara, and we were in the Serapeum. It was just, I mean, it's kind of cool actually. Really shitty for filming.
Yeah.
But see that guy's like, oh, you're gonna see it? You pay me money because you saw it. Yeah, fuck off. But you do. The light was on right now, but it went off later. It was horrible for filming, but really cool to be in there in the dark because you could turn off the lights and just go, holy shit, it's black. Like you know, you can't see anything when you're in here. It just makes you wonder how the hell they lit this place up. I could have sworn this door was not locked when I was here.
Yeah, tell him to talk to Yusuf if he's asking. They'll ask you for money all the time here.
I hope you all enjoyed that video. I'm trying to make these things a bit more of a regular upload to my second channel here, the Uncharted X Live channel. So please do consider subscribing to this channel. That really helps me out. Big thanks to Dub Selector for taking the time to edit these videos. Very much appreciate his help on this. Also, if you want to catch me live over on Twitch, I am streaming 2-3 times a week. I generally announce when I'm going to stream in my Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, take a look below in the comments. There'll be a link to the Discord. And if you like the work that I'm doing, please do consider supporting the channel through the value for value model. There's lots of ways that you can support the work that I'm doing. It's all outlined on my website. It's unchartedx.com/support. We'll catch you in the next one.
Good morning. Here were some sensational headlines from 2015. Were Aborigines the first Americans? Native tribes in the Amazon found to be more closely related to indigenous Australians. And it speaks of a genetic study that reveals Amazonian tribes. 3 of them share more DNA with Australian Aborigines than any other present-day population. And the study suggests that Aboriginal ancestors may have colonized South America. It challenges theories of how Native Americans first arrived in the Americas. Well, of course, this is the Daily Mail, so, you know, we can expect sensational headlines. However, in this case, they're spot on, and the sensational headlines reveal even more sensational scientific research behind it. And this is this is a little extract from the scientific research. There's been this long-held view that there was a single origin for all Native American peoples, and that nevertheless that view has been challenged by some. But advances in DNA technology are making these kind of explorations much more possible. And what's been discovered is this very puzzling connection between the peoples of Australasia, particularly Papua New Guinea, and certain tribes deep in the Amazon rainforest. Now, this is a real mystery, because the view, I'll come to that, what makes it even more of a mystery is further research in 2018 on members of these tribes and looking for ancient skeletal remains. They found ancient skeletal remains 10,400 years old in the Amazon, which bear that same signal. And this tells us that this Aboriginal connection reached South America very, very long ago, and researchers are agreed that it must have reached South America in the late Pleistocene, which is near the end of the last ice age. It's a very important study because it establishes that there's no recent connection here. This is a very ancient connection in South America. And it really creates a problem because the view of archaeology for decades, really a century, has been that all the peopling of the Americas happened this way, that they crossed the Bering Straits, which were a land bridge during the Ice Age. Sea level was lower then, and that they traveled through North America and eventually down into South America. The problem is that this genetic signal isn't found anywhere in North America. It's only found in South America and in Papua New Guinea and neighboring areas. And I talked to Eski Willesleb, who's one of the world's leading geneticists, whose recent work focuses on the peopling of the Americas. And I'll just read a bit of this email exchange. Willesleb told me that currently no one has a good explanation of the Austro-Melanesian signal. All that's put forward as possible explanations are purely speculative. What we do know is that it's present in some Native American groups, particularly from Brazil. We also know it has to be pre-Columbian. Amongst the possible explanations for the presence of this Australo-Melanesian DNA in the Amazon, Professor Willeslav offered in his email exchange with me the following. Someone holding this signal comes into the Americas not through Beringia, but crossing into South America across the ocean. Based purely on the genetic data, this is the most parsimonious explanation, but it does not make practical sense. So I asked Eske why it doesn't make practical sense. Is he basing that on the archaeological consensus that our upper Paleolithic and early Holocene ancestors were incapable of undertaking long transoceanic voyages? And his reply, in regard to crossing the Pacific, I'm not saying it did not happen, but there is no evidence suggesting that humans were capable of such a journey until quite late in history, the Polynesian expansion. It's a possibility, and I'm open to the idea, but there's not much evidence supporting it except going for the most parsimonious solution of the genetic data. Well, let me say right at the outset that in science, parsimony is looked for. It's best to look for the easiest and most direct and most simple explanation of something rather than elaborating huge other explanations. And this mysterious genetic signal in South America is best explained because none of it's in North America, by a crossing of the Pacific during the Ice Age, which supposedly our ancestors were incapable of doing. So we're in the habit of dividing the world into the New World and the Old World. And it's generally held, it's generally been the view that all civilization began in the Old World. And this book, History Begins at Sumer, by Professor Samuel Noah Kramer, is a hugely influential text. And basically what he's saying is that Sumer, ancient Sumer in Mesopotamia, was the first human civilization, first organization of human beings that deserved to be called a civilization. And it's still influential, even though it was first published in 1956. And indeed, this part of the Old World is a center of civilization. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's the Sumerian Empire. And up there we have the incredible site of Göbekli Tepe between the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They call this area Mesopotamia because it means between the rivers. Can't help feeling that there's some connection between what happened in Sumer and what happened much earlier in Göbekli Tepe. But the new evidence from the Americas threatens to overturn this paradigm that places the origins of civilization in the Middle East. The world was so different during the last ice age. There were ice caps 3 kilometers deep. Sea level was 400 feet lower than it is today. And there were freezing temperatures. But then, really rather abruptly, around 11,600 years ago, the ice age came to an end. And the whole face of the world changed. Everything became different, and we start to look at the world as we see it today. So there is the conventional notion. There's the Bering Straits now, and there's how they were during the Ice Age. And it did seem obvious to archaeologists that this must have been the main route for getting into the Americas, and indeed for a long time they held it was the only route for getting into the Americas. And there was a theory that there had been an ice-free corridor between the Cordillera and the Laurentide ice sheets. That theory, by the way, has been recently completely blown out of the water. Nobody could have used that ice-free corridor because it didn't exist. Here's the general picture of these migrations and through that supposed ice-free corridor and down into North America about 12,000 years ago, and then eventually onwards into South America. It's these genetic discoveries of this close relationship between Australasians and certain peoples in the Amazon rainforest that are challenging the long-held view of the peopling of the Americas. The long-held view became a dogma, and that dogma was called Clovis first. These were supposed to be the Clovis culture, were supposed to be the first inhabitants of North America. And they're not supposed to have come into North America until around 13,400 years ago. And mysteriously, 12,800 years ago, they vanish entirely from the stage. They're recognized by these fantastic fluted points that they made. So they were held to be the first culture of the Americas, and for decades, archaeologists were adamant that no human beings had entered the Americas before 13,400 years ago. But things are beginning to change. This is a report from 2013. Not so long ago, there was a seemingly incontrovertible answer to the question of how and when the first settlers made it to the Americas. Some 13,000 years ago, a group of people from Asia walked across a land bridge that connected Siberia to Alaska and headed south. And these people were known to us as the Clovis. By the way, why do we call them the Clovis culture? They didn't call themselves that. We have no idea what they called themselves that. I'll tell you why. Because there's a site called Blackwater Draw down in New Mexico. And in that site were found many of those Clovis points by archaeologists. But the problem was there was no beer available right there at the site. But where there was beer available was in the town of Clovis, New Mexico, about 10 miles away. So they called it the Clovis culture. Yeah. For decades, this was the received wisdom. So compelling was the Clovis first model that few archaeologists even contemplated an alternative. Some, with the temerity to do so, complained of a Clovis police intent on suppressing dissent. And believe me, the Clovis police was a real thing. It wrecked the lives of quite a number of archaeologists who took a dissenting view and held that it was absurd to suggest that the Americas had only been populated 13,000 years ago. Of course, they'd been populated earlier. And Jacques Cinq-Mars, who conducted excavations at Bluefish Caves in the Yukon, found evidence of the presence of humans in the Americas more than 20,000 years ago. That was heresy to the Clovis police. They descended upon him. They recruited their friends in the media to attack him, to present him as a pseudoscientist, to say that he was telling lies, to say that he was fraudulently presenting evidence. They did everything possible to ruin his career. And as the Smithsonian later admitted, rather than launching a major new search for more early evidence, the finds stirred fierce opposition and a bitter debate, one of the most acrimonious and unfruitful in all of science, as Nature later put it. And poor Jacques Cinq-Mars, he was ruined by the Clovis police. His research funding was withdrawn. He was passed by in corridors by colleagues who would no longer speak to him. He was treated as a pariah. He, in every way, was insulted and humiliated. But he was right. But he was right. Because Bluefish Caves were re-excavated. And we now know that people were butchering horses and other animals in Bluefish Caves 24,000 years ago. Jacques Cinq-Mars was totally correct, and this more recent research completely vindicates him, but too late to save him from the destruction of his career that fellow archaeologists inflicted upon him. As the Smithsonian admitted in 2017, the study does raise serious questions about the effect of the bitter, decades-long debate over the peopling of the New World. Did archaeologists in the mainstream marginalize dissenting voices on this key issue? And if so, what was the impact on North American archaeology? Did the intense criticism of pre-Clovis sites produce a chilling effect, stifling new ideas and hobbling the search for early sites? The scientific atmosphere, records Tom Dillehay, was clearly toxic and clearly impeded science. So that's March the 8th, 2017. Now, these days, if you talk to archaeologists about Clovis not being first anymore, they'll say, oh, we knew that all along. We've been saying that since the 1990s. Rubbish. Rubbish. A few archaeologists have been saying it, but the majority were ganging up on them with the forces of the Clovis police. So we're told here in 2007 that Clovis was debunked by National Geographic. The Clovis people, known for their distinctive pierheads, were not the first humans to set foot in the Americas after all. That's 2007. 2012, once again, Clovis is debunked. The Clovis theory is put to rest at Paisley Caves. And then Wikipedia, admitting now recently, by the way, I regard Wikipedia as a profound source of disinformation. And I know from looking at Wikipedia entries from a subject that I know about that they're not telling the whole truth. They're presenting an agenda. And I suggest that's probably true for everything that's on Wikipedia. It's the first stop that we all go to get information, but it's not a reliable source. It's a source of disinformation. It's useful, but check everything they say very, very, very carefully. So Clovis, the need to debunk Clovis keeps on happening again and again. It comes back like a sort of zombie, and it has to be killed again. It just won't go away. So here's a 2022 report in the big thing, Clovis debunked. Hey, archaeologists now saying they debunked it in the 90s and in the 2000s, and now in 2022 they're still needing to say it's been debunked. This is an ongoing debate, and we have not got rid of that zombie yet. There are still people clinging to the Clovis first idea. But here's Al Goodyear. Al Goodyear has excavated a site called Topper, which puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. He was subjected to the same kind of attacks that Jacques St. Mars was subjected to. There I am talking with Al Goodyear, and he took me to the site, and he explained that initially they went there to investigate what they thought was entirely a Clovis site. But then they did something that other archaeologists had never done, because archaeologists were told there's no point in looking deeper than Clovis. You know, with these layers in the soil, the younger material is at the top and the older material is at the bottom. They said there's no point in looking deeper because we know that Clovis was first. But Al Goodyear dissented, and he dug deeper. And digging deeper below the Clovis layer, he found compelling evidence that humans had been present more than 50,000 years ago. It's now beginning to be reluctantly accepted by the archaeological community, but Al went through decades of hate and unpleasantness because he stood out from the crowd. The Cerruti Mastodon site is another extraordinary site. My God, I mean, those Clovis police are saying humans were only in America for 13,000 years ago. Here's a site that shows humans were in America 130,000 years ago, 10 times as long. This is the work of paleontologist Tom Demaray and a number of his colleagues at the San Diego Natural History Museum. And they found a mastodon, the remains of a mastodon, which had clearly been butchered and the marrow extracted by human beings. Exactly what kind of human beings they were 130,000 years ago, we can't say for sure. Because 130,000 years ago, there were Neanderthals. There were Denisovans. There were also anatomically modern humans. But the handiwork of humans is clearly evident in this site. And Tom Demaray took me backstage in the San Diego Natural History Museum, and he showed me that evidence, and it's utterly compelling. But of course, he was immediately attacked. They don't call them the Clovis police anymore, but there was just a general attack on what was regarded as the fantastical notion that human beings could have been in the Americas 130,000 years ago. And Tom Demaray and his team have replied to that attack very thoroughly, refuting it. But the friends of the dead hand of archaeology in the media keep on reporting that it's been debunked. It has not been debunked. Any attempt to debunk it has in fact been debunked by Tom Demaray and his colleagues. Here's Paulette Steeves. She's a Native American archaeologist, and she is very unhappy with the way that American archaeology is evolving. And she talks about how ignorance is produced through neglect, secrecy, suppression, destruction of documents, unquestioned tradition, and socio-political selectivity. Educational materials were framed in such a way to support colonization of the mind, teaching people to think in ways acceptable to the nation state and not to question so-called scientific authorities. So look, this is why my kids made for me a T-shirt with the words, I'm not wearing it today, but stuff just keeps on getting older. Because you know, if you have a relatively short time frame to deal with, then searching for a lost civilization becomes much more complex and much more difficult. But if you have a very long time frame to deal with, there's much more material to investigate. And if the Americas have been inhabited by humans for 130,000 years, which is more than twice as long as Europe, then our understanding of prehistory must change. We have a vast resource-rich landmass here, and it may have been the location of hitherto unrecognized advances and developments in the story of civilization. But if this were so, why have archaeologists thus far failed to recognize these developments and advances? Well, here's a bit of the open letter that the Society for American Archaeology published and sent to Netflix, complaining about my Ancient Apocalypse series, saying really vile things about it, and demanding that Netflix reclassify it as science fiction, because it doesn't represent the orthodox archaeological point of view. And I'll just read their justification. After more than a century of professional archaeological investigations, we find no archaeological evidence to support the existence of an advanced global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests. Archaeologists have investigated hundreds of Ice Age sites and published the results in rigorously reviewed journals. The assertion that Ancient Apocalypse is a factual docuseries or documentary rather than entertainment with ideological goals is preposterous. If there were any credible evidence for a global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests, archaeologists would investigate it and report their findings with rigor according to the scientific methods, practices, and theories of our discipline. If the evidence warranted scientific peer review, we would acquire funding to test it, publish our results, and promote it in our own outreach materials. Contrary to Hancock's claims, archaeology does not willfully ignore credible evidence, nor does it seek to suppress it in a conspiratorial fashion. I actually don't think that any conspiracy is going on here. I think people get locked into a particular mindset. Their careers depend on it. The approval of their colleagues depend on it. The funding for their research depends on it. They get invested in that mindset, and they find it very difficult to see outside it. Part of the problem is that very ancient structures, thousands of years older than archaeologists suppose, may be hiding in plain view, surrounded by other younger structures. And the best example of that really is the Great Sphinx of Giza, and these two temples in front of it. This temple is a New Kingdom temple, much later even than the accepted date of the Sphinx, which is about 4,500 years ago. But the Sphinx and these two temples are deeply anomalous, and the erosion patterns in the trench around the Sphinx, and which were originally on the body of the Sphinx before it was restored, speak eloquently of what is called precipitation-induced weathering. And this was first noticed by the late, great John Anthony West, a dear friend of mine, who passed away in 2018. And John West brought Professor Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, to the site, and Schoch said, it's obvious, this site has been subjected to at least 1,000 years of heavy rainfall. When did that happen? Well, it happened between roughly 12,800 and 11,600 years ago. That's the last time that there were rains capable of causing this level of erosion in the Egyptian desert. See those deep vertical fissures running down there? That's the rainwater pouring off the side of the escarpment and selectively hollowing out the weaker areas of rock. For most of the 20th century, it was the consensus of archaeologists that megalithic architecture was beyond the capacities of hunter-gatherers and required the presence of long-term settled agricultural communities to evolve. And it seemed to reinforce this view that no megalithic architecture had been found anywhere in the world that was more than 6,000 years old. In fact, that was one of the main arguments that the archaeological police used to try to dismiss John West and Robert Schoch. They said, show us another culture that's 12,000 years old anywhere in the world, and we might listen to you. But we know that there is no culture capable of creating anything like the Sphinx until 4,500 years ago. Therefore, of course, the Sphinx is 4,500 years ago. But of course, that changed completely with Göbekli Tepe, which is a deliberately buried site, deliberately buried 11,600 years ago, a very, very ancient site. Sorry, it began 11,600 years. It was deliberately buried about 1,000 years later, and thus sealed, and thus an intact archaeological scene. And the evidence from Göbekli Tepe is that this site is 11,600 years old. It dates to the end of a period called the Younger Dryas, which I'll talk a bit more about. And my goodness, if you're capable of creating these 20-ton megalithic pillars and this huge site, then you're certainly capable of creating the Great Sphinx. So the notion that the Sphinx is somehow out of context has to completely change now that we have Göbekli Tepe. I'm here with the late Professor Klaus Schmidt, who, unlike most archaeologists, did not sort of make the sign of the cross and run away as soon as I appeared on the site, but actually gave me 3 days of his time and talked me through the site in great depth. Tragically, he passed away in 2014, and he's been succeeded by a very closed-minded group of archaeologists. What he's telling me, why he's pointing at the ground, is that there's hundreds of pillars as yet unexcavated, still deeply buried under the ground, huge enclosures under the ground that they haven't excavated yet. The story of Göbekli Tepe is just beginning. And neighboring Karahan Tepe, back in 2014, when Santa and I first went there, all you could see at Karahan Tepe was a few interesting looking bits of stone sticking out of the ground. But now Karahan Tepe has been excavated, and this is how it looks today. An extraordinary megalithic site of the same age as Göbekli Tepe, around about 11,000, 11,600 years ago. Here we have pillars carved directly out of the bedrock, and then one freestanding pillar included there, and then this curious face sticking out.
Thank you for being here.
Which I must say,
good sesh, the flex to end it.
Chills the first time I saw it. I don't know what it's about. It's got a sort of snake-like feeling with a human head on the end of a snake's body. So there is reason to conclude that the Sphinx does not stand alone. That there are now recognized archaeological sites which involve huge amounts of workmanship that are as old as the Sphinx. And I wonder if some other sites have been misinterpreted, if sites are multi-layered, that many different cultures have been involved in them, and archaeology is perhaps making the mistake of
just the lighting, bro. It's just the shade.
That was present. This is Baalbek in the Lebanon, and undoubtedly.
Thanks, man. That means a lot from you.
Temple of Jupiter.
What up, Toad? What up, Stash? Merry Christmas, guys.
The Temple of Bacchus.
Grandpa Donald. Aw, thanks for.
Those Romans knew how to have
Cool,
fun.
man. Yeah, I'm about to sign off though. I gotta go. I have so much stuff to do. That's all I'm thinking. Like when my first set, I was just thinking about all the stuff I had to do, and I wasn't even. I was struggling to get through the set. I'm like, what am I even doing? I gotta get my mind in it. Like it's dangerous. I don't even get my mind in it. You know. Like Z's says.
The way they're built into a wall and raised 30 feet above the ground like this. A wall,
mind, body,
which has not been established
integration is key.
Just another look, and I'm in the picture for scale.
Disease.
At the Trilithon. So,
man.
Nearby is the quarry.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna read somebody right now.
And the quarry
What's up, Joe? What's up, Stash? What's up, King? What's up, Christian? Thanks everybody for being here. Lurkers, Merry Christmas.
Now, the one I'm standing on weighs 1,000 tons, 100 tons more than the ones in that wall.
We're going to read Guernsey.
That one over there, on the other side of the road, unfortunately used now as a rubbish tip, weighs 1,200 tons. And the one here that I'm standing on here, which is only recently excavated, turns out to weigh 1,400 tons. Why only recently excavated? Because the whole site was covered in sedimentation. What archaeologists say, and it still amuses me, of course the Romans did everything. They found they could move 900-ton blocks, but 1,000 tons was too much for them. So they couldn't move them. So they just left them in the quarry. In my view, that's a very un-Roman thing to do. The Romans were very practical people. Okay, let's say they couldn't move 1,000 tons, but having gone to all the work of creating huge megaliths like this, they wouldn't have wasted them. They'd have sliced them up like loaves of bread and used the already shaped blocks in other constructions. The fact that they didn't do that, that these are still there, suggests to me the whole site was covered during Roman times, and it's only in more recent times that it's been excavated and revealed. And then let's go to Sacsayhuaman in the Sacred Valley near the town of Cuzco in Peru, in the high Andes.